It's been 3,000 years.
My friends, it's time. This is a countdown 30 years in the making. Ever since I started this channel, Mega Man is the one franchise I've talked about more than any other. And why not? It's a series we, the unwashed masses, don't deserve. Yet regardless, it has blessed us with its unshakable foundation of simple yet compelling gameplay and a lore spanning as many generations as Pokémon. I've covered so much about this series: Robot Masters, Net Navis, Mavericks. I've done a review, and a full-on Let's Play. But one question has been left lingering. What are my favorite games in this historic series? Well, with the Super Fighting Robots 30th anniversary now in full swing, now's as good a time as there's ever gonna be. And with Mega Man finally getting his due again after all this time, well, now I have to make this good. Now there's only one rule here, and that's no fan games. That's for another list. Don't expect me to make that list. Enough stalling, this party ain't gonna throw itself. Get equipped with the ultimate Blue Bomber Birthday Bash! It's game time! Okay, it's high time I clear the air and finally talk about Mega Man Star Force. Anyone who says it's nothing more than a poor man's battle network needs to have a good old talking to behind the battle card shop. Yeah, the second one wasn't too spectacular, but what's so bad about Star Force 3? Building on the foundation of the previous two games, which in turn was built on the foundation established by the Battle Network series, Star Force 3 serves as the final game in the saga of Geo and Omega-Xis, the latter of whom I swear could be voiced by Patrick Seitz if this game had full voice acting. The plot pits Geo and his friends against a criminal mastermind and an approaching meteor that's filling the wave world with harmful noise. This noise is actually an important part of the gameplay, with skillful manipulation of the noise allowing access to powerful battle cards, new noise change forms, and the uber-broken Black Ace and Red Joker finalized forms. The story has its share of subplots, twists, and turns, and while the main villain is basically Discount Regal, the path to getting to him brings our heroes into contact with some characters that I actually found rather memorable. Not to mention, the bosses were on average the best in the trilogy. It's a shame these three games didn't get more credit. Well, at least Geo got to hang out in Mega Man's final smash, so there's that. Sometimes the idol gets scuffed. Sometimes the pedestal cracks. But just because you've long since come to accept that your sacred cow is in fact mortal, doesn't mean you can't still appreciate the milk. Yeah, even though the former champion has long since given up its belt, I can still look back at it and see that even significant age isn't enough to shatter the childhood memories of this old machine. Mega Man 2 was the game that introduced me to this series when I was like 6 or so, and even though 3 was the height of my NES nostalgia, looking back, I'd say 2 holds up better in that regard, even though the rust in the chassis has been exposed for all to see. Plenty of glitches, the infamy of Heatman's Yoku blocks, and that goddamn boobing trap. Even all that crap doesn't hide how fun this game is, not to mention how important it is. The original Mega Man didn't sell all too well, and Capcom almost didn't go through with making a sequel. The development team actually used their own free time to make this game happen, but thank Robot-Xis that they did. The success of Mega Man 2 was the series' launchpad. Thanks to better overall presentation and stage design, generally better bosses and weapons, and the absolute joy of laying claim to the Metal Blade, bending the game over your knee, and having your way with absolutely everything. And not only was Mega Man 2 the foundation for the series' success, it also established several conventions that have remained with the series, such as the password system, eventually replaced with data saves as technology demanded, the ever-useful E-Tanks, multiple utility items whose roles we later filled by Rush, 8 Robot Masters instead of 6, and Wily's iconic Skull Castle, now immortalized in Smash Bros. Not to mention some of the catchiest chiptunes in gaming history. Yeah, Mega Man 2 may not be the pinnacle of the series that many once viewed it as, but it still manages to hold a place in my solar-powered heart. Shine on, Old Faithful. Before Inti Creates hit it as an indie developer with games like Gunvolt, Blaster Master Zero, and that one game I'd rather not talk about for fear of raising the age rating of this video, they had a rather healthy relationship with Capcom in regards to Mega Man. And to be perfectly honest, it couldn't have been in better hands. They were responsible for some of the best titles in the franchise, including the last one we had gotten in the last several years. Sometimes I think fans of this series have been spoiled. With the retro revival in full swing by this point, just a standard issue Mega Man game was not gonna cut it. Mega Man 10 needed to be able to last, and last it did. It certainly helps that the base game was solid enough on its own, with a difficulty for every player, Proto Man playable out of the gate, and a mostly strong lineup of Robot Masters. Like its predecessor before it, Mega Man 10 also tried to add in more in the story department, with our robotic enforcers dealing with an outbreak of Robo-Enza. Precursor to the Maverick virus, perhaps? Could be. Well, he did create both of them after all. Sprite work is as great as always, with great enemy design, and the soundtrack has some great themes, like Sheepman's theme, Blade Man's theme, and Abandoned Memory, just to name a few. It also took a bigger withdrawal from the nostalgia account than its predecessor did. Heck, not only was there a boss that was a throwback to Robot's past, but the DLC Time Attack stages brought back the Mega Man killers from the Game Boy games, complete with the opportunity to use their weapons as your own. If I had to knock it for a couple things, it's that a couple of Robot Masters don't quite measure up, easy mode borders on insulting, and word is the DLC was already built into the game's code upon download. At least the true ending wasn't locked behind a paywall. If Asura's Wrath caused a backlash, doing it here would have caused riots. But hey, at least Base is now playable in a game that won't make you want to tear your hair out. Spin-offs are fun, am I right? Take Mega Man Battle Network, a spin-off series taking place in a network-centric world where the debate on net neutrality is the last thing to be worried about. The 6 games of this series were a lot of fun. Well, maybe less so with the 4th game, but probably the best from many standpoints was the 3rd one. Picking up where the 2nd game left off, Battle Network 3 built on the series' gameplay with some very important features that stuck with the series going forward, a lot of which I really appreciate. First and foremost was the addition of the Navi Customizer. By gathering programs and arranging them smartly, you could build Mega Man EXE into just the Navi you need for the situation. Whether you want to focus on your Buster, increase your survivability, boost your chip arsenal, or whatever. Also, this was the first game in the series to introduce the chip hierarchy between normal, Mega, and Giga chips, requiring a new level of strategy. The stronger chips are meant for Mega and Giga chips, meaning you can't exactly stack your folder. The styles are also improved, both in visuals and functionality, giving you unique abilities and Navi Customizer programs. Just be careful about that bug style. I hear it's not covered by malware protection. Speaking of bugs, bug frags became more prominent in this game too. A well-placed counterattack could reward you with this odd currency, which you could use to raise your own viruses to use as battle chips. Isn't that just sweet and dandy? I'll admit the story is a slight step backward from the 2nd game, with Wily coming back with his Resurrected World 3, and he's out to destroy the net via Eldritch Abomination. However, in the process, we get some insight into a few of the series' characters that we've been needing, including some explanation of events in the previous game. Also, this was where the series started releasing in multiple versions. Mega Man, gotta upload them all! Also, Tournament Arc! Speaking of Tournament Arc... Yeah, I've thought about it, and my favorite of the NES 6 is the one we only got in America thanks to Nintendo. That's right, Capcom didn't publish Mega Man 6 outside of Japan because the NES was declining in sales. I think we all know what's to blame for that. Nintendo picked up the domestic publishing rights to help promote the new top-loading NES model alongside the sequel to Star Tropics. Fun bit of trivia there. The rise of the SNES may be the reason this game got overlooked, but whatever the reason, Mega Man 6 deserves more credit than it tends to get. The Robot Masters were competitors in an international tournament reprogrammed by Mr. X. Sorry, Wily, your disguise is worse than Team Rocket's. This mostly solid group of Robot Masters represents 8 different countries, which I think adds a bit of character to them. It seems the game also took more liberties with the stage design here. Each stage has its own gimmicks, but they typically don't feel too intrusive. Some of them are even pretty trippy. Upside down water, how, do, and why? More importantly, branching paths are more prominent in this game, and that's actually how you obtain beat. Thing is, these alternate paths took advantage of the new rush adapters, which I appreciate. In most games, you summon rush to help you reach other areas. In this game, you wear rush like armor. The power adapter puts 10 megatons into Mega Man's fist, allowing him to wreck armored enemies and break blocks. The jet adapter is exactly what you think. It's a jetpack that allows him to traverse long gaps. Most of the weapons in this game are also pretty useful, even if some of them are functionally the same as some weapons in past games. And to top it off, Mega Man actually does what he should have done in the first place and sends Wily to prison. Too bad nothing good can last. As if the to be continued didn't make it obvious. You didn't think I'd leave out Nintendo's little gray brick that could, did ya? Though, to be fair, those familiar with the Game Boy games probably wouldn't be able to blame me if I did. It's not that they were bad, well, one of them was, but I digress. But it's because they were basically remixes, bringing together existing Robot Masters from previous games, with one additional new robot to mix things up. Well, except for one. Good thing they saved the best one for last, right? I'm glad that this was what we got from Mega Man 5 on Game Boy instead of just another remix. Instead of just rehashed Robot Masters, we got the Star Droids, alien robots from the depths of space. And these ain't your ordinary buckets of bolts. The old-fashioned Mega Buster doesn't even scratch them. So what's a good doctor to do? Give his boy a full-on rocket punch, that's what. The Mega Arm may seem like a downgrade at first glance given its less than full screen range, but with what you can do at its full potential, you won't miss the Mega Buster all that much. The level design takes advantage of various themes such as mining colonies, gravity, etc., and rarely do they get cumbersome or overstay their welcome. As for the Star Droids themselves, each of them is unique, and Uranus notwithstanding, they provide fun challenges and useful weapons to use. Weapons like the Grab Buster, Electric Shock, and the Spark Chaser make this outer space case all the more fun. And most of the boss fights are really fun too. Hell, the fight with Sunstar at the end is still my favorite Robot Master battle of all time, even though he kinda comes out of nowhere. Hey, he was in the field guide, and he showed up Wily. Let me have this, damn it. However, in all honesty, what's up with Tango? I know he was added in place of Beat to be the support robot, but for the life of me, I can't think of a situation where I found him useful. I never thought I'd see a case where kitties don't make everything better. Problems with Tango aside, a lot of effort was put into making this final Game Boy entry, and it definitely shows. And hey, if you have a 3DS, you don't have to shell out Mondo bucks on eBay to get this game. Seriously, an actual star would probably be cheaper. Out of all the generations of the Mega Man mythos, I'd have to say that the Zero series has had the most consistent quality. All 4 games of this series are at least good, if not crotch-kickingly hard. I was tempted just to put the Zero collection for the DS on the list and call it a day, but I seriously doubt I would have gotten away with it with any amount of my listing or onion. That being said, the third time's the charm, I guess. Mega Man 03 honestly had the most to offer of any game in the Zero series. For one thing, the already dark storyline of the series got pushed even further. This was the game where the history of the Dark Elf, introduced in Zero 2, was explained, along with the most terrifying event in the history of Mega Man, the Elf Wars. Incidentally, this also marked the rise of Dr. Vile, giving the series' gray morality conflict a true evil, which I can really appreciate. Copy X was a Knight Templar ruler who believed he was right. Elpizo was a fallen hero who lost his mind to despair. But Dr. Vile's evil was on full display during his rise to power, and it really speaks to the talent of the writers to make a villain this intentionally hateable. Second, the gameplay continued to improve upon its predecessors. No more weapon grinding, customizable chip parts in place of Zero 2 styles which were often tedious to obtain, satellite cyber elves which could help you get an edge without affecting your ranking, and secret discs which contained everything from inside info to valuable power-ups in cyber elves. There was also this thing called cyberspace, but let's be honest, a lot of people only use that once. Speaking of the levels, Zero 3 had probably the best overall set of levels among the 4 games, with fewer bullcrap moments than the first 2 games. Not to mention, the boss battles made the challenge well worth it. The final battle of this game still stands as my favorite final boss of all time. All of this backed up with Ippo Yamada's kick-ass tunes, seriously, do I even have to say anything more than Cannonball? And awesome sprite work. Zero's always been our hero, and the best of his 4-game curtain call definitely shows it. I had to put quite a bit of thought into this order, but that should come without saying considering just how big this series is. But it was these top 3 that were the hardest to decide. In fact, the only thing harder was writing this segment without resorting to a cheap reference. About time I bring up the X series, right? To be honest though, as much praise as the series gets, its quality has been inconsistent to say the least. but even 24 years since its initial release, the original Mega Man X still holds up as one of the greatest games not only on the Super Nintendo, but any console. Both as a successor to its 8-bit ancestor, and as a game on its own. Everything was a step up from the classic series. Gameplay, presentation, level design, boss battles, story, even challenge. I've gushed about how the intro stage sets up nearly everything, from teaching you how to play, to introducing the coolest robot ever, to setting the theme of X becoming stronger and realizing his true potential. But that's just the tip of the iceberg of what this game has to offer. The Mavericks, which serve as the replacement for the Robot Masters, are all very well designed, and most of them offer a lot of fun in their battles. I especially appreciate how many of the bosses have a specific reaction to their weakness weapon. The levels are a bit more open than the classic series, due in part to X's superior moveset, as well as the superior specs of the SNES. The 4 armor upgrades can expand what X can do to a staggering degree, resulting in a style of play that's faster and more fluid than the classic series, not to mention even more thrilling. And when you throw in the sweet 16-bit sprites and that rockin' soundtrack, mwah! It's beautiful. Not to mention all the little touches like the boomerang cutter hacking off Flame Mammoth's trunk, the ride armor, the way clearing some stages affects others, and to top it all off, the Hadoken, complete with X calling it out by name, and given to you by Dr. Light wearing Ryu's gi. And it wrecks everything in one hit. Coolest Easter egg ever. As great as the first X game was, 2 and 3 felt too much like it. Yeah, there were new armor and some new features, but it wasn't until the 32-bit era that the formula was perfected. Nearly 2 years after the original trilogy, the Maverick Hunters came screaming into the 5th console generation with the whoosh of an X-Buster and the flash of a Z-Saber. Mega Man X4 was the next step forward for the series, first and foremost in the narrative. The story revolves around an uprising by the robotic militia known as the Repliforce, instigated by you-know-who. And it's up to X and Zero to sort things out. That's right, X and Zero. This was the game that marked Zero's first fully playable appearance in the series, after being criminally underutilized in X3. Can't even fight bosses? Pfft, screw that, I'll wait for the next one. While X's side of the story is his standard Call of Duty stuff sans loot boxes, thank God, Zero's story was far more personal. From discovering the true origin of X's partner as Wily's final creation, to him being forced to take up arms against an old friend in the Colonel, and even his own love interest, Iris. And the way the story is conveyed is unlike anything the series had seen thus far, including full anime cutscenes that were really well animated. Hey, you can knock the voice acting all you want, and I'll even join you for a round. But these cutscenes brought the story to life like plain text never could. The gameplay for both X and Zero is both top-notch. X's gameplay is fluid as always, and the 4th armor is arguably one of the best in the entire series, barring the Ultimate armor, which, by the way, also made its debut in this game. Zero, on the other hand, turns the standard platforming into a full-on hack-and-slash. Instead of direct weapons, Zero learns the techniques from his fallen enemies, meaning he doesn't need to worry about weapon energy with the exception of his Giga Attack. Add on to this the best lineup of Mavericks, awesome weapons, rocking music, amazing backgrounds and sprites, and one of the best finales in the entire series, and X4 stands above its immediate family as one of the best games in the 32-bit era. The only question remaining is, what are you fighting for? Now before we get to number 1, I've got several honorable mentions to cover. Mega Man 3, Mega Man 7, Mega Man Legends 2, Mega Man ZX, Mega Man ZX Advent, Mega Man X8, Mega Man X Command Mission, Mega Man Battle Network 2, Mega Man Battle Network 5 Double Team DS, and Mega Man Battle Network 6. I may talk with a great degree of enthusiasm when talking about my favorites, but it takes a certain something special to make me go into full-on gush mode. I've done it before when talking about stuff like Shovel Knight and the awesomeness of Zero, so when you hear that kind of tone from me, you know it's for a damn good reason. Well, get out your cameras, because Old Faithful is about to erupt. Beck, sit your bitch ass down! There's only one number 9 around here that deserves to be called mighty. And, between you and me, it happened when Inafune was still working at Capcom. It had been 10 years since a proper classic Mega Man, but Capcom called upon the absolute madmen at Inti Creates, and they responded with a 50 gigaton nostalgia bomb! And I'm still feeling the shockwaves. Mega Man 9, to me, is the purest, most refined, and most thrilling title the series has ever seen. Don't at me. I still remember seeing the initial trailer and having my mind blown. Classic 2D Mega Man reborn into the modern era, complete with 8-bit aesthetic and chiptune bliss. My inner child was screaming with joy. But no game can carry itself on nostalgia alone. Playing the game itself proved that it could stand on its own merits as a Mega Man game by fine-tuning the essence of the series to a ridiculous degree, on top of a story that actually manages to work for the classic series. Yeah, Wily's behind it yet again, but the way he goes about it is actually rather clever, winning robots to his side over a controversial exploration law, and even pinning the whole thing on Dr. Light. But Mega Man's quest to clear the good doctor's name pits him against the best set of robot masters in the series. Splash Woman, Galaxy Man, Tornado Man, and more stand between the Blue Bomber and Justice, taking him through stages that can be tough as nails your first time through, but once you master them, it feels so satisfying. And even though the charge shot and slide were taken out to make it feel like Mega Man 2, the level design and weapon selection were put together with these limitations in mind. And these weapons are the absolute best. Not a single one feels useless, and several of them have special uses besides taking on some super intense boss fights. Add to that the DLC, which added Proto Man, a special level for Time Attack, and the debut of Endless Mode, and you have a package that's hard to top. At least as far as I'm concerned. Mega Man 11 is gonna have a hell of a lot to live up to, but no matter what, it's good to have you back, old friend. I'm the Quarter Guy, and it's amazing that even after 30 years, a franchise like Mega Man has managed to maintain such a following. And it's so gratifying to see that Capcom has not been neglecting one of its most famous franchises as we'd all feared it had. And if you're a fan of this series, well, you've got most of next year to prepare. So be polite, be professional, and play some fucking Mega Man! Get a load of this! You know what they say, the more the merrier! It's no use! Help me, Leon! Dance, water, dance! Burn! Burn to the ground! Yeah, one-liners can get on my nerves, but to be honest, I've seen a lot worse than that. Next time, top 10 most annoying enemies. It's game time!
Let's rock out.